Welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm 𝙎𝙐𝘽𝙎𝘾. In tonight's segment, let's go back to explore one of the most dramatic military losses in the history of Christendom. This siege put an official end to the 200-year medieval battle for the Holy Lands between Christians and Muslims, a battle that has become known throughout history as the Crusades. In 1291, the last Christian outpost in the Middle East fell to Muslim forces. Let's explore this end of the Crusades in the dramatic fall of the city of Acre in 1291. To understand the significance behind this collapse, let's explore the story of the Crusades up until this point. Since 1095, Christian and Muslim armies had been locked in a bloody struggle over the Holy Lands, the small strip of land along the Mediterranean eastern coast surrounding the famous city of Jerusalem. Both faiths claimed the city as their own. Muslims believed it was the place in which their prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. And as Christians, we know that Jerusalem is the place where the Lord Jesus Christ was crucified, dead, and buried, and then rose again 3 days later. Religion was the driving force behind this bloody clash. From 1099 to 1187, the Christians held Jerusalem and the surrounding regions. But in 1187, the Muslim forces under the mighty Sultan Saladin recaptured Jerusalem. After several epic battles between Saladin's Turkish forces and King Richard the Lionheart's English army, the Christians regained much of the land they lost, but they could not recapture the capital city of Jerusalem. As such, they moved their capital city roughly 100 miles up the coast to the city of Acre. Acre would remain the Christian stronghold in the Holy Lands for the next 100 years. To the detriment of the Christians, the loss of Jerusalem was really the beginning of the end in the Crusades. The Catholic Church commissioned several more crusades throughout the 13th century, but none of them accomplished the goal of regaining the Holy City. A brief peace treaty between Ayyubid's Sultan al-Kamil and Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II put Jerusalem back in Christian hands in the 1230s, but the Christians lost the city in 1244 and never regained it. They lost Antioch and Jaffa in the next several decades. Now, perhaps it was a weakening of the crusading spirit or a distinct home field advantage for the Turks, who were used to the extreme climate of the Middle Eastern deserts. But by the late 13th century, the Christian presence in Jerusalem was next to nothing. Christendom held on by a thread to Acre, the last remaining outpost of the once mighty Christian kingdom of Jerusalem, until the spring of 1291. In April of 1291, the Mamluk Turks laid siege on Acre, in which a Crusader army made up prominently of Knights of the Temple of Solomon, or Knights Templar, was charged to defend it. The Mamluks broke through the city gates in May and overcame the severely outnumbered Templars. The Christians lost Acre and the Holy Lands to the Muslims, thus putting an end to the epic medieval war known throughout history as the Crusades. Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History. For more historical content, subscribe and click that bell to get notifications for when our next Moment in History comes out. Until next time, I'm 𝙎𝙐𝘽𝙎𝘾.